So, to begin our assembly, I'm going to start with our tail feathers, and you want to make sure that you're doing two opposites of each other, two mirror images, because you don't want to have, two lefts or two rights. So what we want to do is we want to find and cut out the slot for our horns, and depending on how your kit is packaged, you may have different horns. In the instructions, they show two horns like this that are wood on one side and carbon fiber on the other, as opposed to these two, which are fiberglass, and it's fine. Now, they are open, and they need to be, because to keep the hinges, or the springs, excuse me, from becoming weak, anytime we're not flying the airplane, we want to unhook the lines, which means you would swing the servos as far to their rearmost extreme as possible, and then pull off the loop at the end of the line, which is hooked on here. That's why they're open. And then we can take the tail feathers off or leave them on, either way, but that way it allows the spring to return and not get weakened from remaining in a state of constant tension. So this is a solid color, so it's a little hard to see, but you can feel around with a fingernail and you'll find that little groove. That's where our tail feather, our horn is going to go. So you want to cut that little bit of covering out. And you want to do that on both sides. Yeah, there it is. See, that's what you want to do right there. You want to be able to just cut it on both sides, and then one end, and then you can hold it up and cut the other side. Okay, now that we have trimmed the slots for our horns, before I glue these in, I want to make sure that the pins are in the proper positions for our tail boom, because it's a little confusing. And it's got to be right. So our tail boom has two slots cut here. These are for our pull cords to come out. There are 4 holes here. Those are for our 4 carbon rods here that our tail boom plugs into, our tail feathers plug into. Those have to plug into the boom, and that relationship has to be correct. Now, you'll notice that these holes are not in line with each other. They're staggered, because these carbon rods need to cross as they go through the rear tail boom. So we need to identify our holes and their relationship. So the forward one is here on the left and the rearward is on the right. So our tail feather with the holes forwardmost is this one. Which is interesting. I would have thought they would have done it the other way, so that the tail feathers could be like this, and not have the groove in the middle. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, that is the way they've got it set up. So our springs are going to go in here. The spring is going to be set to keep this open, and then our horn is going to be set to pull against that spring. So they show that you put your pins in these. Just, it's a temporary thing. You do not glue these pins in. Do not do that, because then you won't be able to take your tail feathers off. If you want to mount these in permanently, go ahead and glue the rods in, but I would keep that option open. What you need to do is push these through their hole, and these are a little tight. I think I'm going to have to loosen some of these up a little bit. And I've got a hand drill set that would be perfect for that. Okay, I'm going to pause and find the hand drill. Okay, this is a little hand drill kit that I got on Amazon, and what I want to do is find a bit that is going to make the hole large enough for this carbon rod here. And I would normally be using my my calipers to measure this, but the battery is dead at the moment and I haven't gotten a replacement. Now that looks like it's about the same size, so I need to go up again. I may do this more than once until I get the right size. Better to drill a couple times. They give you a little tweezer because these things are so small. Okay, that fits there, so again I need to go up. Okay, that looks like it's gonna give me what I want. Okay, there we go. So that's the right bit. Let me go ahead and do this over a trash can. You want to be careful with carbon fiber. You want to avoid that dust getting into your environment. It's poisonous. You don't want it rubbing into your skin. So, especially if you're going to be drilling several holes or cutting some stock, either do it outdoors, which is preferable, or if it's freezing cold like it is here at the moment, do it over a trash can where you're not going to encounter it, and then make sure you don't dump that trash can inside. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-position these pieces of carbon rod, the shorter ones to the front, the longer ones to the rear. guess I didn't do that one well enough. Okay. There we go. So make sure that you have this positioned so these slots are on top. And again, make sure you've got these oriented properly so they're gonna be equal to each other. Now, you want to position these so they are bottomed out. In other words, that the tail feather is completely against here, because they will protrude a little bit, and that's by design. Sorry, just checking the camera there. Now, we just want to put a little drop of CA on each of these. Do not put on a lot. You don't want it running down inside to the next joint, because then it might go on down into your tail boom. In fact, it might be better to do them one at a time. Hold the tail feather against it and just a little drop, because we just want to tack it in place. And we'll just give that a few moments to dry. Now we will do the same thing over here. These little tips are fantastic. That is so much more controllable than the tips that come with it. So when you're ready to fly this, you'll basically put a piece of tape over here, around, and onto this surface to just keep them from getting away. And otherwise the rods will hold them in place themselves. Okay, now that we know which way these are going to face, we can put in our horns, the control horns. Do not close off these hooks. They need to be open so that you can hook your lines on there and then release them when you're not flying the airplane. Otherwise, the springs get, they weaken. So one of the things we want to do is rough these up a little bit so that they're going to glue in tight. So a little bit of sandpaper or a file will do that for you. And you're not trying to take off a lot of material, you're just trying to rough this up and get rid of some of that slick, shiny surface there that the glue is not going to adhere to real well. And I'm doing this on here instead of on the styrofoam deck because I want to make sure that this goes all the way to the other side but not through, because I want it to be level, and I want it to be exactly the same as this piece here. Okay, we'll let those sit for a few minutes. And in the meantime, I can start deciding on servo placement. Let's get out our motor. Now that is going to be interesting to figure out how I get that speed control through that little hole there. I hope it fits. I would hope so. They designed it. There we go. It took a little jiggling to squeeze it through that hole, but it goes through. In the end, it fit. So now we are going to need to line up those holes there and get our hardware in place. I'm going to take out the foam and put all this hardware in here. There's a lot of little stuff. Some of it we may not need, some of it's to like reorient the motor. Let me get a hex wrench of the correct size for that screws. Okay, looks like a 1.5. This is going to be kind of hard to do, especially the lower holes. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite in each of those holes so that when the screws go in, they've got some Loctite to keep them tight. There we go. Oh, I actually got one of them. Okay, I've got two. The last two should be easy. Except for the fact that they are down low. It's going to be hard to get the driver to line up. But I could be wrong. Might go in nice and easy. And with that Loctite, I may never ever have to touch these ever again. If I fly well, I might get years out of this aircraft. Great, doesn't touch anything. So, and it was a little tricky and took a little fiddling. What helped me was once I had it close, using my finger to move the wires that for the speed controller a little bit left or a little bit right until I was able to get the get one of the motor holes lined up. I also used the thin end here to kind of poke through and try to find the hole and get it into line. And then it all came together nicely. Just sticking that on there for now. Okay, I need to figure out a few other things here. Let's see. No, I'm going to use the bigger batteries. What I did was I actually ordered 2 different batteries, and I didn't show you this during the unboxing because I only opened one box. I wanted to have a lighter battery for potentially flying some competition. So I got the 380 milliamp, which is a 90 to 180 C, and that's of course going to be the same voltage for both. They're both it says 3S, and we have 100 C to 200 C. So this is the sport fly battery, and this would be the extra light competition battery. So I'm going to start by fitting everything with the largest of the 2 batteries because that's the only way to go. I mean, I've got to have it be possible to fit that. set those aside, and we'll just work with our single battery here. Now, I really don't want the battery to be on top of the ESC, and I could try tweaking the wires a little bit to get this to sit sideways. But again, the battery is going to be right up against the ESC, and that's a heat issue, and I don't want that. So what I think I'm just going to do is set it up like this. Receiver here, and that doesn't leave me much servo room unless I put the receiver above the battery so that it can, there's space for that, I believe. So let me go into my receiver selection and decide which one I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video.